There are foods sitting in your kitchen right now that you bought because you thought they were healthy. Foods with labels that say organic, natural, heart healthy, or doctor recommended. But these foods are quietly destroying your body from the inside out. I'm Dr. Nova Mind, and I've spent 15 years studying nutrition, metabolic health, and the science of aging. What I've discovered by reviewing thousands of peer-reviewed studies has completely changed how I think about so-called healthy foods. The food industry is brilliant at marketing. They take processed products, slap a health claim on the package, and convince millions of people that they're making a good choice. Meanwhile, these foods are driving inflammation, disrupting your hormones, damaging your gut, accelerating aging, and setting the stage for chronic disease. And the worst part? Many doctors recommend these foods. Dietitians put them on meal plans. Government nutrition guidelines endorse them. But when you actually look at the science, not the marketing, a very different picture emerges. Today, I'm going to reveal 8 foods that most people consider healthy but that are actually causing serious harm to your body. For each one, I'll explain why people think it's healthy, what the marketing claims say, what the actual science shows, what's really happening inside your body when you eat it, what you should eat instead. Some of these will surprise you. Some might even make you angry because you've been eating them for years based on medical advice. But my job isn't to make you comfortable. My job is to give you the truth based on current scientific evidence. A comprehensive review published in the British Medical Journal found that many foods promoted as healthy by the food industry actually contribute to obesity, diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. Another study in the journal Nutrients found that nutrition misinformation, often funded by food companies, has created widespread confusion about what actually constitutes healthy eating. If you've been eating healthy for years but still struggling with weight gain, brain fog, fatigue, digestive issues, or inflammation, this video will explain why. Before we dive in, hit that like button if you want honest, science-based nutrition information that isn't influenced by food industry marketing, and subscribe to this channel for weekly videos on health, nutrition, and longevity. Let's expose these so-called healthy foods for what they really are. The first healthy food that's quietly destroying your body is whole wheat bread. I know what you're thinking, but Dr. Mind, I switched from white bread to whole wheat specifically because it's healthier. That's exactly what the food industry wanted you to think, the marketing claims. Whole wheat bread is marketed as heart-healthy whole grains high in fiber, better than white bread, recommended by doctors, part of a balanced diet. The American Heart Association puts their little check mark on packages. Doctors tell patients to choose whole grains. It seems like a no-brainer, but here's what the science actually shows. First, modern wheat is nothing like ancient wheat. The wheat consumed today has been heavily hybridized and modified over the past 50 years to increase yield and gluten content. It's shorter, grows faster, and contains different proteins than the wheat your great-grandparents ate. Dr. William Davis, a cardiologist and author of Wheat Belly, has extensively documented how modern wheat triggers inflammation and metabolic dysfunction in ways that ancient grains did not. Second, whole wheat bread spikes blood sugar almost as much as white bread. This shocks people, but it's true. The glycemic index of whole wheat bread is 69. White bread is 75. The difference is negligible. When you eat whole wheat bread, your blood sugar spikes rapidly. Your pancreas releases a surge of insulin. Over time, this constant insulin spiking leads to insulin resistance, the foundation of type 2 diabetes. A study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition compared white bread, whole wheat bread, and pure glucose and found minimal differences in glycemic response. Third, wheat contains compounds that damage your gut. Modern wheat is high in gluten, a protein that increases intestinal permeability, leaky gut even in people without celiac disease. Lectins, plant defense proteins that bind to your gut lining and trigger inflammation. Phytic acid, an anti-nutrient that blocks absorption of minerals like zinc, iron, and calcium. Research published in the journal Nutrients found that wheat consumption is associated with increased intestinal permeability in both celiac and non-celiac individuals. Fourth, the amylopectin A in wheat is uniquely fattening. Wheat contains a specific type of starch called amylopectin that is more easily converted to blood sugar than almost any other carbohydrate, including table sugar. This explains why people who eliminate wheat, even whole wheat, often lose significant amounts of belly fat within weeks. Fifth, wheat triggers addictive eating patterns. When wheat is digested, it breaks down into polypeptides that cross the blood-brain barrier and bind to opioid receptors in your brain. These compounds, called gluteomorphins, create mild euphoria and stimulate appetite. This is why you can't eat just one slice of bread. It's biochemically triggering you to eat more. What you should eat instead, if you want actual healthy carbohydrates: sweet potatoes, quinoa, technically a seed, not a grain, wild rice, root vegetables like parsnips and turnips, squash and pumpkin. These provide carbohydrates and fiber without the inflammatory and metabolic effects of modern wheat. Or if you occasionally want bread, look for 100% sprouted grain bread, Ezekiel bread, sourdough made with ancient grains. The fermentation reduces problematic compounds. Almond flour or coconut flour alternatives, but the healthiest choice. Eliminate bread entirely for 30 days and see how you feel. I've had hundreds of patients do this, and the results are consistently dramatic. Weight loss, reduced inflammation, better digestion, clearer thinking, and improved energy. The second healthy food destroying your body is fruit juice, including 100% fruit juice. With no added sugar, the marketing claims, 100 natural, no sugar added, a serving of fruit, vitamin C, antioxidants. Parents give it to their children. Hospitals serve it to patients. It's positioned as a wholesome, nutritious beverage. Here's the truth. Fruit juice is essentially sugar water with vitamins, and it's one of the worst things you can consume for metabolic health. First, fruit juice is extremely high in sugar without the fiber. When you eat a whole orange, you get about 12 grams of sugar along with 3 grams of fiber. The fiber slows the absorption of sugar, feeds beneficial gut bacteria, and creates satiety. When you drink 8 ounces of orange juice, you get the sugar from 3-4 oranges, about 21-24 grams with virtually no fiber. That sugar hits your bloodstream rapidly, spiking blood glucose and insulin just like drinking a soda. Second, liquid calories don't trigger satiety. Your body doesn't register liquid calories the same way it registers solid food. When you eat an apple, you feel full. When you drink apple juice, your brain doesn't register those calories as food, so you continue eating. A landmark study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that people who consumed fruit juice gained significantly more weight over time than those who consumed whole fruit. Third, fruit juice is associated with increased diabetes risk. A study in the British Medical Journal that followed over 100,000 people for more than 20 years found that greater consumption of fruit juice was associated with higher risk of type 2 diabetes. In contrast, eating whole fruits was associated with lower risk. The difference: the fiber, the chewing process, the slower digestion, and the smaller amount of concentrated sugar. Fourth, fruit juice damages your liver just like alcohol. Fructose, the primary sugar in fruit juice, is metabolized exclusively by your liver. When you flood your liver with fructose, especially in liquid form, it gets converted directly to fat through a process called de novo lipogenesis. This creates fatty liver disease, the same condition caused by excessive alcohol consumption. Dr. Robert Lustig, a pediatric endocrinologist at UCSF, has published extensively on how fructose metabolism in the liver is virtually identical to alcohol metabolism, including the toxic effects. Fifth, the antioxidants in juice don't offset the sugar damage. Yes, fruit juice contains some vitamins and antioxidants, but the metabolic harm from the sugar load far outweighs any antioxidant benefit. It's like saying cigarettes are healthy because they contain trace amounts of vitamin E. The harm vastly exceeds any benefit. What you should drink instead: water, still the best beverage for human health. Herbal tea, unsweetened green tea, powerful antioxidants without sugar. Coffee, black, moderate amounts. Sparkling water with a squeeze of fresh lemon or lime. If you want fruit, eat the whole fruit: an apple, an orange, a handful of berries. You get the nutrients, the fiber, the satisfaction, without the metabolic destruction. The third healthy food destroying your body is low-fat or non-fat yogurt, especially flavored varieties. The marketing claims, low in fat, high in protein, good source of calcium, probiotic benefits. Part of a healthy breakfast, low-fat yogurt is marketed as the ultimate health food, especially for women trying to lose weight or improve bone health. Here's what's actually happening. First, when fat is removed, sugar is added. Fat provides flavor and texture. When manufacturers remove the fat from yogurt, it tastes like sour paste, so they add sugar to make it palatable. A typical 6-ounce container of low-fat flavored yogurt contains 15-25 grams of sugar. That's as much sugar as a glazed donut. Even healthy brands like Chobani, Yoplait, and Dan unload their low-fat yogurts with sugar. Second, the sugar negates any protein benefit. Yes, yogurt contains protein, but when you pair that protein with 20 grams of sugar, you trigger an insulin spike that promotes fat storage, creates inflammation, disrupts hormones, feeds harmful gut bacteria. The protein doesn't offset the metabolic damage from the sugar. Third, low-fat dairy may actually be worse for weight management. Multiple studies have found that full-fat dairy is associated with lower body weight and reduced risk of obesity compared to low-fat dairy. A comprehensive review published in the European Journal of Nutrition analyzed 16 studies and found that consumption of full-fat dairy was inversely associated with obesity. The theory: the fat in full-fat dairy creates satiety, stabilizes blood sugar, and reduces overall calorie intake throughout the day. Fourth, many yogurts don't contain meaningful probiotics. Most commercial yogurts are pasteurized after fermentation, which kills the beneficial bacteria, or they contain such small amounts of live cultures that they provide no real benefit. And even if the yogurt contains probiotics, the sugar in the yogurt feeds harmful bacteria and yeast, potentially worsening gut health rather than improving it. Fifth, fruit on the bottom is just jam. That fruit layer in flavored yogurt isn't fresh fruit. It's fruit preserved in syrup, essentially jam, adding even more sugar. To an already sugar-loaded product, what you should eat instead. If you want yogurt, plain, full-fat Greek yogurt with no added sugar, add your own fresh berries, a small handful, not a cup. Add nuts, seeds, or a drizzle of raw honey if you need sweetness. Look for yogurt labeled contains live and active cultures, or consider kefir unsweetened typically has more diverse probiotics. Icelandic skyr plain, full-fat coconut yogurt unsweetened. If you avoid dairy, read the ingredient list. If sugar or any form of sweetener appears in the first 3 ingredients, put it back on the shelf. The fourth healthy food destroying your body is granola and granola bars. The marketing claims whole grains, natural energy boosting, perfect breakfast or snack packed with oats and nuts. Granola has a health halo. It's associated with hiking, yoga, and healthy living. It seems wholesome and natural. Here's the reality. Granola is essentially dessert masquerading as health food. First, granola is extremely calorie-dense with minimal nutrition. A typical serving of granola is a quarter cup. That's about a small handful. And it contains 120,150 calories, 15-20 grams of sugar for 6 grams of fat, often from inflammatory vegetable oils. But here's the problem. Nobody eats a quarter cup of granola. People pour it into a bowl and eat 2-3 servings, consuming for 0.0600 calories and 40-60 grams of sugar in what they think is a healthy breakfast. Second, granola is held together with sugar and inflammatory oils. The oats and nuts in granola need a binding agent. Manufacturers use sugar or honey, often 3-4 different types, to avoid listing sugar as the first ingredient. Canola oil, soybean oil, or sunflower oil high in omega-6 fatty acids that promote inflammation. Corn syrup or brown rice syrup. When you bake oats in vegetable oil at high temperatures, you create oxidized fats and advanced glycation end products, AGEs, both of which accelerate aging and increase inflammation. Third, granola bars are even worse. Granola bars are marketed as convenient, healthy snacks, but most are candy bars with a few oats added. Analysis published in the Journal of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics found that the majority of granola bars marketed to children contained as much sugar as cookies and candy bars. Popular brands like Nature Valley, Quaker, and Kind bars, even the healthy ones, often contain 10-15 grams of sugar per bar. Inflammatory vegetable oils, processed soy protein, artificial flavors disguised as natural flavors. Fourth, the whole grains in granola don't provide the benefits you think. Yes, oats are a whole grain, but when they're processed, coated in sugar, baked at high temperatures, and combined with inflammatory oils, any potential benefit is destroyed. You'd be better off eating plain, steel-cut oats cooked in water with cinnamon and a few berries. What you should eat instead, for breakfast, eggs with vegetables. Unlimited nutrition, 0 sugar, plain Greek yogurt with nuts and a few berries. Smoothie made with protein powder, spinach, avocado, and frozen berries. Chia seed pudding made with coconut milk and cinnamon for snacks. Nuts raw or dry roasted, no oil added. Hard-boiled eggs, vegetables with guacamole or hummus. Apple slices with almond butter. Homemade energy balls. Dates, nuts, coconut, no added sugar. If you truly love granola, make your own. Raw oats, coconut oil, not vegetable oil. Minimal honey or maple syrup. Nuts and seeds. Bake at low temperature. Control the ingredients. Control the sugar and actually make it healthy instead of believing marketing claims. The fifth healthy food destroying your body is veggie chips and veggie straws. The marketing claims made with real vegetables, better than regular chips. A serving of vegetables, baked, not fried, sometimes gluten-free or non-GMO. Health halo claims parents buy these for their kids thinking they're providing vegetables. Adults eat them guilt-free thinking they're making a healthier choice than potato chips. Here's what you're actually eating. First, veggie chips contain very little actual vegetable. If you read the ingredient list on most veggie chips, the first ingredient is potato starch, potato flour, or corn starch. The vegetable part is typically vegetable powder or puree added for color. A study published in the Journal of Food Science analyzed popular veggie chip brands and found that actual vegetable content was minimal, often less than 10% of the product. You're essentially eating flavored and colored potato chips. Second, they're fried in the same inflammatory oils as regular chips. Most veggie chips and veggie straws are fried in canola oil, sunflower oil, safflower oil. These oils are high in omega-6 fatty acids. When consumed in excess, which is easy to do with processed foods, omega-6 fatty acids promote inflammation throughout your body. Chronic inflammation is the root cause of most chronic diseases: heart disease, diabetes, cancer, Alzheimer's, arthritis. Third, the baked, not fried versions aren't better. Baking doesn't eliminate the problem. Baked veggie chips still contain high amounts of refined starches, rapid blood sugar spike, inflammatory oils, salt, often very high sodium additives and preservatives, and because they're marketed as healthy, people eat more of them, consuming more calories, more inflammatory oils, and more refined carbohydrates than they would with regular chips. Fourth, they provide virtually no nutrition. Real vegetables contain fiber, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and phytonutrients. Veggie chips contain trace amounts of these nutrients at best. The high-temperature processing destroys most of the nutrients that might have been present in the original vegetable. You'd have to eat an entire bag of veggie chips to get the nutrition in one serving of actual vegetables. What you should eat instead, if you want actual vegetables: raw veggies with guacamole, hummus, or tahini, roasted vegetables with olive oil and sea salt. Fermented vegetables like sauerkraut or kimchi seaweed snacks, read labels. Avoid ones with soybean oil if you want a crunchy snack. Nuts and seeds, raw or dry. Roasted kale chips, homemade, baked with olive oil. Pork rinds if you eat meat. Zero carbs, high protein. Roasted chickpeas, homemade. Control the oil and salt. The lesson: don't fall for health marketing on junk food. If it comes in a shiny bag with cartoon vegetables on it, it's probably not health food. The sixth healthy food destroying your body is agave nectar. The marketing claims: natural sweetener, low glycemic index. Better than sugar. Vegan, raw, or organic agave nectar is marketed as the ultimate natural sweetener. Health food stores prominently display it. Nutritionists recommend it to diabetics because of its low glycemic index. Here's the truth that the food industry doesn't want you to know. First, agave nectar is up to 90% fructose. Table sugar sucrose is 50% glucose and 50% fructose. High fructose corn syrup is 55% fructose. Agave nectar is 70–90% fructose, depending on the brand. That makes agave nectar higher in fructose than high fructose corn syrup, the ingredient everyone knows to avoid. Second, fructose doesn't spike blood sugar, but that's not a good thing. Agave has a low glycemic index because fructose doesn't directly raise blood glucose the way glucose does. This is why it's recommended for diabetics. But here's the problem: fructose is metabolized exclusively by your liver. When you consume large amounts of fructose, your liver converts it directly into fat through de novo lipogenesis. This creates fatty liver disease, non-alcoholic insulin resistance. Elevated triglycerides, increased belly fat, metabolic syndrome. Dr. Robert Lustig's research at UCSF has extensively documented how fructose metabolism in the liver is toxic in ways that glucose is not. Third, agave nectar is highly processed. Despite marketing claims of being natural or raw, most agave nectar is heavily processed at high temperatures with enzymes and chemicals to break down the complex carbohydrates in the agave plant into simple fructose. The end product has about as much in common with the agave plant as high fructose corn syrup has with corn. Fourth, agave provides zero nutritional value. Unlike raw honey, which contains enzymes, antioxidants, and trace minerals, agave nectar is nutritionally empty. It's pure concentrated fructose with negligible micronutrients. You're consuming all the metabolic harm of sugar with none of the benefits of whole foods. What you should use instead: if you need a sweetener, best options use sparingly. Raw honey, local, unprocessed, contains enzymes, antioxidants, antimicrobial compounds. Stevia, pure leaf extract, not processed versions, 0 calorie, doesn't spike blood sugar. Monk fruit sweetener, natural, 0 calorie, better than agave but still use minimally. Maple syrup, pure, grade A or B, at least contains some minerals. Coconut sugar, lower glycemic index than white sugar, contains trace minerals, best option overall. Retrain your taste buds to need less sweetness. Most people are addicted to sweet tastes, and the only way to break that addiction is gradual reduction. Within 2–3 weeks of reducing sugar and sweeteners, your taste buds adapt, and naturally sweet foods like berries taste incredibly sweet without any added sweetener. The seventh healthy food destroying your body is vegetable oil and other supposedly heart-healthy cooking oils. The marketing claims heart-healthy lowers cholesterol better than saturated fat, high in omega-3 or high in unsaturated fats, endorsed by the American Heart Association for decades. We've been told to cook with vegetable oils like canola oil, soybean oil, corn oil, and sunflower oil instead of butter, lard, or coconut oil. Here's what the science actually shows. First, vegetable oils are highly processed industrial products. Canola oil, soybean oil, corn oil, and other vegetable oils don't exist in nature in liquid form. They're extracted from seeds using high-heat chemical solvents, often hexane, a petroleum derivative, deodorization to remove the terrible smell from oxidized fats. Bleaching the end product is a heavily processed oil that's already oxidized and damaged before it ever reaches your kitchen. Second, these oils are extremely high in omega-6 fatty acids. The human body needs a balance of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids, ideally around 1:1 or 2:1. The modern Western diet, largely due to vegetable oils, has a ratio closer to 20:1 or even 30:1. This massive excess of omega-6 fatty acids promotes Chronic inflammation, increased risk of heart disease, accelerated aging, cancer cell growth, neurological decline. A study published in the British Medical Journal analyzed the Sydney Diet Heart Study data and found that replacing saturated fats with omega-6 vegetable oils actually increased death rates from heart disease and all causes. Third, vegetable oils oxidize easily when heated. When you cook with vegetable oils, especially at high temperatures, they oxidize and create free radicals, damage cells, and DNA, aldehydes, toxic compounds linked to cancer and neurological disease. Trans fats, yes, even oils that claim trans fats can form trans fats when heated. Research published in the journal Food Chemistry found that heating sunflower oil and canola oil generated toxic aldehydes at levels 20 times higher than recommended limits. Fourth, the heart-healthy claims are based on outdated science. The American Heart Association's recommendation to use vegetable oils is based on research from the 1960s that focused solely on cholesterol levels, not actual health outcomes. More recent studies looking at actual health outcomes, heart attacks, death rates, have found that vegetable oils don't reduce heart disease risk and may actually increase it. The famous Minnesota coronary experiment, unpublished for 40 years and finally released in 2016, found that replacing saturated fats with vegetable oils lowered cholesterol but increased death rates. What you should cook with instead. For high heat cooking, avocado oil, refined, high smoke point, stable ghee, clarified butter, no milk proteins, coconut oil, saturated fat, very stable at high heat, tallow or lard from grass-fed animals, traditional fats humans have used for millennia for low heat cooking or finishing, extra virgin olive oil not for high heat, use for, or drizzling butter from grass-fed cows if possible, never use for cooking. Canola oil, soybean oil, corn oil, sunflower oil, safflower oil, cottonseed oil, grapeseed oil. Despite health claims, check ingredient labels on processed foods. If vegetable oil appears in the first few ingredients, reconsider buying that product. The eighth and final healthy food destroying your body is protein bars. The marketing claims high in protein, convenient nutrition, meal replacement, energy boosting, low sugar or keto friendly. Newer claims. Protein bars are marketed as the perfect solution for busy people who want healthy nutrition on the go. Here's what you're actually eating. First, most protein bars are candy bars with added protein powder. Look at the ingredient list of popular protein bars. Quest, Pure Protein, Kind, Cliff, Zone Perfect, Special K. You'll find multiple forms of sugar, often 6-8 different types to keep sugar from being the first ingredient. Soy protein isolate, heavily processed, often GMO, estrogenic sugar. Alcohols cause digestive distress, still spike blood sugar in many people. Inflammatory oils, soybean oil, canola oil, artificial flavors and sweeteners, preservatives and emulsifiers. Second, the protein quality is poor. Most protein bars use the cheapest forms of protein. Soy protein isolate, milk protein isolate, collagen peptides which don't provide complete amino acids. These are not the high-quality, bioavailable proteins your body needs to build and repair tissue. You'd get far better protein from eating actual food, eggs, fish, chicken, beef, or even a quality protein powder mixed with water. Third, protein bars disrupt your gut microbiome. Many low-sugar or keto protein bars use sugar alcohols, sorbitol, maltitol, erythritol, soluble corn fiber marketed as prebiotic fiber but causes digestive issues. Chicory root fiber. These ingredients ferment in your gut, causing bloating and gas, diarrhea, feeding harmful bacteria, disrupting the balance of your microbiome. A study published in the journal Cell found that artificial sweeteners and sugar alcohols alter gut bacteria in ways that promote glucose intolerance and metabolic dysfunction. Fourth, protein bars create dependency on processed food. When you rely on protein bars as meals or snacks, you're training yourself to depend on processed, packaged products instead of real food. You lose the ability to prepare simple, nutritious meals. You lose touch with hunger and satiety signals. You consume more additives, preservatives, and artificial ingredients. Fifth, the convenience isn't worth the health cost. Yes, protein bars are convenient, so is fast food. Convenience doesn't equal healthy. The minor time savings of grabbing a protein bar instead of eating real food comes at the cost of poor nutrition, blood sugar dysregulation, gut disruption, inflammation, exposure to artificial ingredients. What you should eat instead. For quick, portable protein, hard-boiled eggs. Make a batch on Sunday. Eat all week. Nuts and seeds, almonds, walnuts, pumpkin seeds. Jerky, beef, turkey, salmon. Read labels. Avoid sugar and preservatives. Can fish, sardines, salmon, mackerel, string cheese, or cheese cubes if you tolerate dairy. For meal replacement, protein smoothie, quality protein powder, frozen berries, spinach, avocado, unsweetened nut milk. Leftovers from dinner. Make extra. Pack it for lunch. Greek yogurt, full fat, plain with nuts and berries. If you absolutely must have a protein bar, Look for bars with 5 ingredients or fewer recognizable, whole food ingredients, dates, nuts, egg white protein, no soy protein isolate, no vegetable oils, no artificial sweeteners or sugar alcohols, minimal processing brands that are better though still not ideal. ARX bars simple. Ingredients, though high in dates or sugar. Epic bars meat-based, fewer ingredients, homemade bars the best option, dates, nuts, protein powder, coconut but the real answer. Prioritize real food. It takes 5 minutes to scramble 2 eggs. That's real nutrition, not processed convenience. Let me bring this all together. We've exposed 8 foods that are marketed as healthy but are actually destroying your body. Whole wheat bread spikes blood sugar, triggers inflammation, contains addictive compounds, fruit juice, liquid sugar that damages your liver and promotes diabetes, low-fat yogurt, sugar-loaded dairy that negates any protein benefit, granola and granola bars, dessert disguised as health food, veggie chips, processed junk food, with vegetable powder added for marketing. Agave nectar higher in fructose than high fructose corn syrup, vegetable oils inflammatory, oxidized fats linked to chronic disease, protein bars, candy bars with protein isolate and gut-disrupting additives the common thread. Food companies have mastered the art of making processed junk food appear healthy through clever marketing, health claims, and endorsements. Your job as a consumer is to look past the marketing and focus on the actual ingredients and the science. Here's my challenge to you. For the next 30 days, eliminate these 8 foods completely. Replace them with real, whole foods that humans have eaten for thousands of years. Vegetables and fruits whole, not juiced quality. Proteins, eggs, fish, poultry, grass-fed meat. Healthy fats, avocados, nuts, seeds, olive oil, coconut oil, properly prepared grains if you eat them at all. Track how you feel. Track your energy, your digestion, your mental clarity, your inflammation, your weight. I promise you'll notice a dramatic difference. Now I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below. Which of these 8 foods surprised you the most? Which ones are you currently eating? Are you willing to try the 30-day challenge? I read every comment and respond to as many as I can. If this video opened your eyes to food industry deception, share it. Send it to someone who's trying to eat healthy but doesn't know they're being misled. Share it in your community groups. This information could change someone's health trajectory. And subscribe to this channel for more videos on real nutrition science, not food industry propaganda. You deserve to know the truth about what you're putting in your body. I'm Dr. Nova Mind. Stop eating food like products and start eating real food. I'll see you in the next video.